last week, one of my friend's younger sister committed suicide. Suicide is a big social issue in South Korea.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Also, second question is, even I think Nisargadatta didn't give clear answers. His stance, he believed there's no reincarnations. So when we die, the self will go back to, I guess, Parabrahman, where it doesn't know itself, whether you realize or not realize. So there was a student asked, what's the point of doing all this? Whether you are realized or not, we die, we end up at the same place. And so...
So, what did he say?
He didn't give clear answer, he just gave
Right.
all this. So, what do you think about this too?
I mean, two issues.
Yeah, but similar. Suicide.
Yeah.
Kill yourself.
Suicide. Yeah. You can say if you believe the second thing that you said, you can as well commit suicide and done with it. Huh? Well, you said the daughter of a friend.
No, younger sister.
The younger sister of a friend committed suicide.
Yeah.
And then you asked what I think about it.
I mean, what do you think about suicide?
Suicide in general.
Not about her.
Not about her.
Even we talk and few people, they said they tried to commit suicide here, but they failed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I guess it's...
But somebody is committing suicide because they think it's unbearable to keep on living like this. And if it really resolves the problem, why not? But does it resolve the problem? It's most likely that being who tries to escape because it's such an unbearable situation brings the tension of that unbearable situation along, and it just continues in another way. I don't think it's a very advisable solution for problems to commit suicide. We have come here not as a mistake, we have come in this world because your being decides you want to come in this world, you want to learn, you want to grow. Now, if you think, okay, then, but if you are anyhow returning to the whatever Parabrahman, then what's the matter? What's the point? There is no returning to that Parabrahman, you never left it. It's here, it's now, it's that which makes you tick. But somehow that impersonal, that beingness, that unspeakable is manifesting in ever new and new and new forms. Eager to experience itself in ever new and new and new ways. And you are such an expression of that one unspeakable reality. Now, you are something unique and beautiful, although at the same time you are that old oneness, at the same time you are unique. And that being may have had all kinds of experience already and decide to project maybe a part of itself, not the whole being, into this world to go through a certain story and learn and grow. And then somehow, if we take the shortcut out, we are missing the chance. You said Nisargadatta didn't believe in reincarnation, but he didn't believe in not reincarnation. So you cannot tell him like this. After that, Ramesh rather put it that way. But he may not have agreed to the whole traditional story of that reincarnation, but he was also totally agreeing that there is somehow like a memory body remaining and continuing.
I think he said the body dies there, that's it. The consciousness needs the body to express.
Yes.
Yeah. So
He said one time this and one time that, like all great beings, and totally contradicting himself.
a few times he did.
Huh?
A few times I think he did, yeah.
Yes. He said whatever he felt at that moment was the most helpful for the person who was asking the question. Don't take these talks from Nisargadatta or from Ramana when you read it as the one divine truth.
I mean, whether we know or not, when we die, are we going to end up at the same place?
We have never left that same place. It's here, it's now. It's that life that makes this whole story possible.
Then
but
what?
As in this world, so many different manifestations, so many different people may have entirely different experiences, so also when you get out of this life, you may continue having very different experiences from one another.
Is that the mystery of life? Why do we have to grow? Why do we need an experience like that?
It's an inner drive in beingness, in consciousness. The joyousness of expanding. You can ask why is that so? I don't know. But I have accepted that it is so.
But the Parabrahman that contains everything.
This is also a concept that he
Yeah.
somehow constructed in order to give an answer and give a definition of reality, defining something that you cannot define. All these teachings, they are not defining reality. They just are there to give the poor sadhak somehow a help, a pointer, to turn the attention in the right direction. But don't think that when you read somebody, that after that you know the truth. If your heart resonates with the teaching, then by all means use that teaching, but not in order to put yourself in a place that you think, now I got it, now I understand. But open your heart when you read it and try to connect with that space where the teaching is coming from. Parabrahman is not a definition of anything. It's simply a pointer to that mystery that cannot be put into words. And it's not something static that it's, of course, it's totally alive. It makes all life possible. And life has that drive, that curiosity of ever expanding the experience. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What is wrong is that as long as we are identifying with a little imagined being that is separate from the whole rest of existence, That being is just a mental image that we have created about the self. You are a being, but you're not that little separate being. That is just a self-image we have created. And then, when we are identified with that, then that process is very painful. We continuously fight with the whole rest of existence. There's that little wall inside, that's me, outside it's all the rest. And there we are in struggle with it. We can remove that wall and just be, and still you are that unique being. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The whole trouble is just that sense of separation that we are creating. All we have to do is somehow learn to let go of that. And then the experience of that will start to unfold and unfold. It's not that you are somehow carried into a space and that's the end of all experience and all is there. Essentially you will not change. Essentially you are that, but the experience of that essential beingness will continue to unfold beautifully, joyously, effortlessly. The trouble is just with that holding on to that me, separate. That somehow we have to stop. And if we are creating a big and big and big that problematic me, then we may think, okay, the one way of getting rid of it may be committing suicide. But you said, Nisargadatta said, but the consciousness needs a body to express or to experience itself. But that body need not necessarily be a gross physical body. And it's very well possible that somebody is committing suicide in total despair, that feeling of despair is carried over and keeps on going on for some time. Eventually it will go, but it may not necessarily be more pleasant to deal with it in that than if you had learned to deal with it on this level. You ask whether we are all going to the same place. We have come already in very different ways into this world. You are timeless. You are not really incarnated now. What you really are has never been incarnated, so there is no reincarnation for that. But you, as that being, may project some part of itself into this time-space continuum and play a role there, but essentially, even when that is manifesting, you are still what you are, timeless, spaceless, not incarnated. Then at the end, it may be withdrawn, and the whole just has the wealth of that experience there, or that being may still be kept as a projection and being projected again into a new space. So you cannot say exactly what is happening. Neither before nor after, but even during a so-called lifespan, you are not really ever incarnated. It's just a projection. And if you look at it like this, then you can also say, okay, there is no reincarnation. Since there is no incarnation, there is also no reincarnation. What we have to learn is to die every moment. What we have to learn is not to hold on to the past and keep the past alive, but to let every moment go. The whole story, and it's like dying and being reborn. Always new, always fresh and beautiful. If you learn to die every moment, then you really finally can be alive. But it's not necessarily advisable to, when somebody is really in such despair, then think that it's going to get better when you get out of this story. Because that despair has its own momentum and is bound to be carried along somehow. At the same time, I can imagine that if somebody is really sick, and the body is just a bundle of pain, that they, not out of despair, but simply they decide, okay, that's it, I don't want to continue this longer. Then I can accept that may be okay. That just, there may be some dignity in that of refusing to just going on suffering unnecessarily.
I think there was a documentary came out a couple of years ago about Osho when he was in Oregon, USA. He was kind of contemplating his own death, trying to suicide, I guess. Even Osho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you just wanted to tell that. Right.
Then in his case, what is that?
You have to ask him.
I kind of have a question is, I don't know whether you can say much more than what you said on this, but you know, there's the thing of being liberated from the cycle of birth and death.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just wondering, does that, I don't know if growth is what you'd call it, but does that ever stop? I mean, you know, the like expansion, you know what I'm saying? Is there really an end to it? It doesn't seem like there would be an end to it to me. Not that maybe you'd have to incarnate. I don't know. I'm just, you probably don't have any thoughts on that.
There is an end to suffering. There's not an end to expansion.
Or just almost, I don't know if you call it experience, because they say, you know, without a body, it's there's no such thing as a subject-object relationship anymore, because it just all is that. Some people talk about consciousness knowing itself, you know, through, but it seems to be, I guess, through with a body you need or something to be able to do that.
Some kind of vessel.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's possible that even the subtlest vessel eventually is being absorbed. But don't speculate what is going to happen there. There's absolutely nothing to say about it.
I mean, it seems that some people almost seem to get the thought that it's all just kind of dead stillness, and yet there's that liveliness there. So you would think like some part of that would, you know, just continue in some way or another. Of
course, it's alive. It's not that you are sort of getting finally into a dead stillness graveyard. Shiva and Shakti both are there. And that immovable is not the end of the story, it's an aspect. And the dynamic aspect is also there. That is always playing, always expressing.
Always experiencing itself, maybe in new other ways or something.
Yes. We just have our ideas what experience means from our experience as in a human psychophysical form, and then we start to imagine that's how it is. But I mean, there are myriads of other ways you may experience. And you mentioned that traditional teaching of getting out of the cycle of birth and death, of reincarnation. I mean, the reincarnation as it is being taught traditionally is a theory. It's somehow to give people an answer, to give people a purpose, to give people a direction. You don't have to take it so literally. I think it's closer to what is happening than what the church is telling. Either you are a good boy and go to heaven, or you are a bad boy and you go to hell, and that's the end of the story.
I like it.
At least the reincarnation theory has the idea that you can somehow continue, you can atone, you can work yourself out of it. It's more promising than
There's some hope.
either you're going to enjoy forever or you're going to suffer forever. That's the end of it. But it's still a theory. You're incarnating all the time, reincarnating all the time by being alive. When the moment is gone, you die, and you're reincarnating for the new moment. You don't have to somehow cut one circle that is there, lay down that you have to accumulate enough good actions somehow that you have enough punya in your bank account that after that you are capable of breaking out of that circle. The circle we have to break is that false identification all the time with the vehicle, with the role we are playing in this theater of this world. Instead of seeing it as a role that we are playing, we are identifying with that person and think that's what I am. And there we have to somehow cut that circle. And not somehow out there after many incarnations, but now. Now is the time for it.